Ethereum, Bitcoin, we are going to be looking and we're going to be analyzing exactly why Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin right now, if it's likely to continue to outperform Bitcoin, and is that going to have a knock-on effect with your altcoins. We're going to be using three different assets. One's going to be the dollar, that's the boring one, Ethereum and Bitcoin. And out of those three assets, I'm going to show you 7 charts so we can paint a collective picture to understand probabilities. That's what we're talking about, is probabilities. Is it more likely for Ethereum to continue to outperform Bitcoin for the foreseeable future? And for anyone that's new to the channel, my name's Keith. This is the Crypto Bullseye channel. On this channel, we focus on one thing: education, helping you identify, to look at a price chart and understand what is fair value. Because what we need to do is we need to look at previous data, and that's going to help us understand sticking points within the market. And anyone that asks me what type of trader, first thing that I look for on any single chart is, where is the resistance? Where is the support? Structure is king. Then you can add in things like Fibonacci. Then you can add in things like indicators. Then you can add in things like trend lines to get higher degrees of probabilities by adding in these extra things. But first and foremost, structure is king. And what we'll do is we're going to start with structure. Where is the structure resistance? Where is the structure support? And we're going to be using these 3 tools, like I say, the dollar, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. And we're going over 7 charts. And the reason why we're going over 7 charts is to get a higher probability of what is likely to happen going into the next coming weeks and coming months based on what the collective charts are telling us, just using these 3 assets. So the first thing is Bitcoin. We've been talking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin's pulled back. Where is Bitcoin pulled back to? Structure resistance, which is now support. How far can this go down before it's invalidated? It's going to go down 98,219. If you get a break, if you get a close below that level, expect to come all the way back down to test this trend line. In the short term, I'd measured this and I'd said 1-to-1 equal measured move, 104,727. And then you've got your 1272 extension, 101,112. So it could come all the way back down to 100,000 Bitcoin. But the thing is Bitcoin is now underperforming against Ethereum. And we've been talking about this. And one thing that I'd said on the channel is you can get a half price Bitcoin by buying Ethereum here. And it is just a strategy. And we're going to touch on that very shortly. Or we're touching it now, actually. So this is where I said it. Go back and watch my videos. We'd put in a higher low. We'd taken out that previous lower high. That was a change in sentiment once we got the higher low confirmed. And then we started breaking trend here. 0.2302 Satoshis. That was the price. And once you get to this level here, 0.04604, if you'd bought Ethereum here and you sold Ethereum here and bought Bitcoin with that, that is the equivalent of buying a half price Bitcoin. Why is that? It's because it's 100% moved from Ethereum. So you're using the second least risky asset, 100% up there. You're using the second least risky asset as the mechanism to be able to get a half price Bitcoin, because Bitcoin's already run. People are late to the game. Anyone that's new to crypto, they can't afford to buy Bitcoin at that price when Bitcoin's already had its bull run. So the only way that you can do it is use mechanisms as you go further down the risk curve to get that half price Bitcoin by the other assets when they start outperforming. And we knew it was outperforming here. We'd had the signals. That was the point. So we've talked about how you can do it using Ethereum. You need to go further down the risk curve now, where other things are underperforming against Bitcoin but starting to break out. But that's not what we're here for. We're here to find out why this Ethereum is outperforming Bitcoin. So it happens during cycles. It happens at limited times during cycles, and that's called your altcoin season, when you get your alt rally. And Ethereum runs first. And what we're going to do is we're going to bring up the Ethereum Bitcoin chart to give us our first signal. So like I say, the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, if we just zoom out, you can see this is Bitcoin season. That is a long grind. That was the 2021 bull run. This is going all the way through 2022, 2023, 2024, and everything is bleeding against Bitcoin until we bottom out at this level at 0.01800. So that's where things started changing. That's where we noticed, once we put in a higher low and took out that lower high, there was a higher probability of breaking this and then putting in higher highs and putting in higher lows as Ethereum continued up. So you go through the Ethereum season. Within Ethereum, there's Bitcoin season, but you go through these seasons. Bitcoin seasons when you're going in a bear market, Ethereum seasons in a bull market, Bitcoin season in a bear market, Ethereum season in a bull market. So we're starting the Ethereum season. And where is the trend line? It's up here. So you can see Ethereum's all the way up here. Right, what else can we look at? we can look at the Bitcoin dominance and see how far down this is. Why does this matter? Because Bitcoin dominance, as it's going down, that means the market cap of other things like Ethereum, the second biggest market cap, is going up. So we can look at the Bitcoin dominance, see as Bitcoin dominance is going down, that's a high indication. Things like Ethereum are outperforming Bitcoin. We know Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin. We've just seen that. We've just seen how much it's outperforming Bitcoin, and it is starting its run through Ethereum season. So the next thing we look at is the dollar. We've got weak Bitcoin dominance. That's a positive. That's going to signal that Ethereum is going to start outperforming Bitcoin or continue to outperform Bitcoin for this foreseeable. It'll put in higher highs and it'll put in higher lows, and you get shorter reversals. But the thing is, when you get the reversal's a lot shorter than what the extension is, and that's completely fine. So you get that with any chart. Next thing is the strength of the dollar. What do we want a weak dollar for? Because when we've got a weak dollar, it signals on risk. When people go into the dollar, they go into dollar during off risk because everything bleeds. Holding the dollar makes sense. Dollar's the strongest asset during a bear market, when traditional markets go through a bear market. When crypto goes through a bear market, holding the dollar doesn't usually hurt. You have the inflationary effect, which sometimes could be 2%, sometimes 3%, 4%, 5%. We've seen 10%. But crypto, altcoins can drop 98%. So if you're holding dollars, basically the inflation is better than what the decrease is on your altcoins. So a weak dollar is good. We want a rejection at this point here and a continuation to the downside, and that'll signal people are spending their dollars going into altcoins. So this is one, Ethereum dominance. You can see Ethereum dominance is starting to go up. Ethereum dominance is starting to go up, while Bitcoin dominance is starting to come down. That is the other signal that Ethereum is continuing to outperform Bitcoin. Where's the next resistance point? It's all the way up here. All the way up here on this shelf, potentially even higher up here. 17.47%, which is 20.73. So you can expect something like this, a little bit of a cool off, and then a push up to there to test these levels. So that'll be Ethereum outperforming Bitcoin during this point. So if we just zoom out onto the weekly, you can see this chart here. We've got a low down here. We've got a high up here. That's the range. That's the range. So that's probably 20.76%, around 20%, where Ethereum is probably going to top out as far as dominance is concerned. Last thing that we need to look at, is the total 3. Now, this is important. I'm just going to go back into the daily. Look how this thing's held up. Bitcoin's dropped. Ethereum's held up. Ethereum is not included within total 3. This is the total market cap, excluding Bitcoin, excluding Ethereum. Look how this thing's held up. It's creating a bit of a flag pattern or a pennant pattern here. When this thing breaks out, it is likely to break its all-time high. When it breaks its all-time high, that is me putting my exit strategy into play. And I've been full and transparent with this for years, what my exit strategy is. A break and a close of the all-time high of 2021 bull market high of total 3. Total crypto market cap, excluding Ethereum, excluding Bitcoin. Then I'm going to scale out of the market the same that I scaled in the market. So that's called accumulation and distribution. You accumulate during a build phase, you distribute during a bull market. So I'll be taking 10% off the table, 10% off the table towards the end, 20%, 30%, 40%. But basically, depending on what narrative runs, that's where I'm going to be taking profits. But I will be full and transparent with you guys. I have been all along. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel. Let me know if you want more videos like this, guys. That's why Ethereum's outperforming Bitcoin. It's because it's Ethereum season now. We've seen why it's Ethereum season. We've seen why it's holding up against Bitcoin, signaling the risk curve is shifting into altcoins as we go into high risk. Okay, that's about it from me. See you in the next one.